Happy New Year's Eve, everybody. I am Jack, and it's weekend roundup time, but we're still on break. So today, instead of rounding up video game news, we're rounding up next year's most anticipated titles. It's a special episode, yay! Get excited because if all goes according to plan, next year is gonna be incredibly stacked, and that's mostly because a bunch of awesome games that were supposed to come out this year got delayed to 2023. So let's dive right into it. Starfield, one of 2023's biggest and most anticipated games. It's the first new IP from Bethesda in at least 25 years and is taking the trappings from modern Fallout and Elder Scrolls games and applying them to a deep space science fiction setting. Needless to say, people are excited. It might not exactly be another Skyrim moment for Bethesda, but it's gonna be a pretty big deal when it finally comes out. As of the time of this recording, Bethesda has said the game will be out sometime in the first half of 2023. So we'll see that one next year. Next up is another no-brainer. Zelda Tears of the Kingdom might actually be the most anticipated game of next year. That's partly because as a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild, it was probably presumed that the game would be out relatively quickly after it was announced back in 2019. But that didn't happen, and Nintendo has shown so little of the game that it's left a ton of room for speculation. On the upside, Nintendo has provided an official release date of May 12th, 2023. If you remember, that more recent trailer showed off a kind of rock elevator thing, some sky island climbing, and a cool stone glider. We still have no idea what's going on with Link's arm, but we really want to find out. Stone glider, that doesn't seem to make sense to me. Oh well. Final Fantasy 16 is another major title that we know is coming next year. For a while now, mainline games in the series have been blending magic and technology, but the next installment is returning to a more medieval era with a new take on summons, which are called icons in this game. In order to summon an icon, a human dominant is required that plays a major factor in the game's story. Depending on what region of the game world you are in, the dominants are allowed to rise to prominence or they are hunted down due to the destructive power they possess. Final Fantasy XVI's main protagonist is a dominant named Clive, who can seemingly become or embody the fire demon Ifrit, but it's unclear to him if he's really in control. Clive, what a name. Also, what's exciting here is in addition to the pedigree Final Fantasy brings as a franchise, we have already seen a playable kaiju-style battle between two icons. But in an interview with Game Informer, Final Fantasy producer Naoki Yoshida said icon versus icon battles are meant to be unique and in fact don't actually use the same exact system twice. So it's exciting to see Final Fantasy as a franchise really try something new. Alongside an epic new trailer shown off at the Game Awards, Square Enix has announced Final Fantasy XVI will release on June 22nd, 2023. It will be a timed exclusive for the PlayStation 5 for 6 months. Speaking of PlayStation exclusives, what would a new year be without the promise of a major first-party blockbuster from Sony, or more specifically in this case, Insomniac Games? Yes, we're talking about Spider-Man 2. Unfortunately, all we have to go on for now is the short story trailer Sony showed off at the PlayStation 2021 showcase. That's the one widely believed to be narrated by Kraven the Hunter that shows Miles Morales and Peter Parker trashing some goons with tag team combos and then teases Venom at the end. It should be really interesting to see how Venom factors into the game, since for the last few years he generally hasn't been portrayed as a villain, but a full-on anti-hero. You know, a hero with moral gray areas because no one knows how to do anything with an actual proper villain. Anyway, Insomniac has already come out and said the game won't support co-op, but many are speculating that you might be able to swap between the three characters. It's also believed Kraven the Hunter will be the main villain in the game, but given how the previous game teased storylines for the sequel, we could easily see the Lizard and Green Goblin make an appearance. There are also rumors that the Venom symbiote could potentially have some effect on gameplay or provide alternate abilities. Insomniac recently confirmed that Spider-Man 2 was on track for a 2023 release. Then the game appeared on the UK PlayStation Store with a release date of December 13th before being taken down. All right, we have more games to get excited about, but first, let's talk about this week's sponsor, Manscaped. This episode of Inside Gaming Roundup is brought to you by our favorite producers of ball trimmers, Manscaped. Not a lot of competition there. The global leaders in below-the-waist grooming are leaving 2022 with brand new products, Persevere Cologne and Persevere Body Wash. 2023 is the year to up your hygiene game and smell amazing. And Manscaped wants to help you do so with this special offer. Use the code ROUNDUP for 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com. Manscaped stuff is awesome. They have a razor called the Plow, which is great. When I clean up my neck, I use that every time, and it looks fantastic. Super, super easy. It's good quality stuff. The new Persevere body wash from Manscaped will get you clean and feeling good with a light woodsy scent and is infused with aloe vera and sea salt to keep your skin feeling fresh and moisturized. Nothing is worse than crackly skin. It's the grossest. Similarly, the new Persevere cologne has a woodsy scent that answers the call of the wild by leaving you smelling like a man forged from the earth. Where else would you be forged by? I don't know. Of course, there's also the Lawnmower 4.0, which is included in the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0, or as it's been called, the perfect package for your package. Start your new year off smelling nice and feeling confident. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code ROUNDUP at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code ROUNDUP. Happy New Year to your balls. All right, let's get back to the most anticipated games of 2023. Next year, we'll certainly keep horror fans happy as remakes for 3 of the most beloved games in the genre are on the way. The Dead Space remake is going to kick off the year in late January on the 27th. EA has uncharacteristically had a fascinating approach with the game where they have shown large chunks of it in development and has been fun to follow along. From completely reworking the way the sound works in the game to developing a new AI director which will keep players on their toes, the Dead Space remake is shaping up to be something really special for old-time fans and newcomers alike. I'm actually on the community council for this game, and this isn't in the script. It looks awesome. I've been watching this thing in development for the last few years, and I'm so excited to see it finally coming out. So it's going to be very, very cool. Check it out at the end of the month. Reportedly, the Silent Hill 2 remake will also be released in 2023. That's based on a statement from Bluebird Team CEO Piotr Babeno, who said the game is now in its final stages of development and that it's been in the works since 2019. On one hand, that's surprising because the game was just recently confirmed, but the trailer that came alongside the announcement had a lot to show. So who knows? Fans are worried about how the Bluebird team might handle the remake for one of the greatest horror games ever. So hopefully the studio takes their time and tries really hard to get it right. To complete the horror game remake Triforce, that's how you fight Ganon, the Resident Evil 4 remake is also slated to come out next year. That one's out March 24th, 2023. Capcom has kind of set the bar for remakes in the past, so hopefully we can expect a loving tribute to one of the most cherished Resident Evil games in the series. The original game came out in 2005, and you couldn't move and shoot at the same time. That's been changed in the remake, and reportedly Capcom is also reworking the iconic Ganados enemies throughout the game. There were also some goofy QuickTime event moments in the original game, so we're very eager to see what else they changed. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is a great action-adventure game which was critically acclaimed and sold over 8 million copies in its first few months, largely exceeding EA's expectations. So it makes sense that Respawn would be given the opportunity to make a sequel. We got to see a new trailer for Jedi Survivor at the Game Awards, and it's looking like it will deliver on what made the first game in the series great, while also building up on a variety of new traversal and combat mechanics. Star Wars Jedi Survivor takes place 5 years after Fallen Order, and has Cal Kestis facing new and familiar threats as the Empire's reign continues to grow. The official release date for the game is March 17th. I'm looking forward to that one. If you're looking for something new to play on Switch next year, you don't have to wait very long. The next Fire Emblem game has an official release date of January 20th, 2023. The game appears to be a multiverse-style story where you are teaming up with Fire Emblem characters from past games to take on a legendary monster known as the Fell Dragon. Does he have one of the life alert things? I don't know. As the title suggests, there's an engage mechanic in the game that allows characters to fuse together, combining their power. Overall, the game looks like it will hit home for long-running fans of the series. For everyone else, well, this one has got Marth from Smash Bros. In it. That's a joke. Going back to Capcom for a second, Street Fighter 6, from what we can gather, is anticipated to be a solid entry in the franchise. Pro players, casters, and members of the game's press have all had good preview impressions of it so far, and it already promises a bunch of new features the series has never had before. A World Tour mode is a franchise first, allowing players to customize their own fighter and do all sorts of different activities. There's also a new optional Smash Bros. Like control scheme that simplifies special move inputs, in-game commentators, and new lab tools. Street Fighter 6 is slated for release next year on June 2nd. Now we are going to get a little more into uncertain territory with these next few games, but according to Square Enix, 365 days from now, we will have already played the second part of the Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is now called Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. According to the reveal trailer for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the game will launch in winter of 2023. The trailer also has a lot of self-referential nods to changing the future, hinting that the remakes will continue to depart from the plot of the original version of Final Fantasy VII, or as some have speculated, act as a type of time paradox that needs to be resolved. The trailer also dives pretty deep into the lore, showing a flashback of Zack and Cloud hobbling toward Midgar, which means the plot is about to get a whole lot more complicated in general, which is really exciting for fans who never played the original, and even more so for those fans who have and are trying to work out where things go from here. Another game that has a release window slated for the end of the year 2023 is Dragon Age Dreadwolf. It has been anticipated for a while, and part of that is because the leap from Dragon Age 2 to Dragon Age Inquisition was pretty big. With Inquisition, BioWare created a massive world for players to explore with all the right RPG trappings and a solid narrative with interesting characters and branching paths. So a lot of fans are looking forward to a follow-up that improves upon that foundation. Not to mention Dragon Age as a series always delivers on characters you love, hate, or love to hate. That alone always made building a party in those games a lot of fun. Well, in Dreadwolf, one of your former party members from Inquisition is actually an ancient god that some of you may or may not have slept with. Then they're set on destroying the world, so it's up to you to try and stop him. Now, these end-of-year games could easily be delayed into 2024, but according to BioWare developers, Dragon Age Dreadwolf is still on track to be out next year. Armored Core 6 Fires of the Rubicon got a surprise announcement at the Game Awards with an incredible trailer, and it's likely going to be a big topic of conversation until it actually comes out. From Software's Hideki Miyazaki and lead designer on Sekiro, Masaru Yamamura, are both working on the game, but there's been some mixed messaging when it comes to what new players to the series should expect. Marketing materials and PR statements have alluded to the game being a Souls-like or Souls-inspired, but in a recent interview with IGN, the pair made it clear that while some Souls DNA will be easy to see, Armored Core 6 is still very much a big mech game with a large focus on customization and huge mech battles like previous games in the series. Miyazaki specifically said, quote, "We have not been making a conscious effort to try to direct it towards more Soulsborne type gameplay." Then added, "So the real impetus for this project, I think, or at least one of the real appeals for me, comes from that aspect of assembly and being able to really freely assemble and customize the mech. I think it is what we really highly focus on in Armored Core." So if you're a big Soulsborne fan, that doesn't mean you shouldn't check out the game, just that you should go in with measured expectations. According to the announcements, the game is out sometime next year. All right, this last entry is more of a plea than an actual entry. We have all been waiting for this game for so long, many have started questioning whether it's real. Hell, I think people are questioning whether or not they themselves are real. It's been a weird year. Give it up for Weebles Jeebles on Reddit, though, who pledged to draw a picture every day until Silk Song came out. Eventually they stopped posting daily, but still, they have made it up to 728 drawings. Wow. The first Hollow Knight game was almost too good. It instantly became one of the most beloved Metroidvania games of all time for many that played it, and that's well earned because it's a very, very good video game. Silk Song, announced in 2019, started as DLC for the original Hollow Knight, but then it kept growing and growing until the devs at Team Cherry decided to make it an entire game. The last major trailer we got was back in June at the Xbox Summer Showcase, but it didn't have a release date. However, Xbox did commit to saying that every game in the showcase would be out within the year, implying that Silk Song would have to be released sometime before the end of June. Many believed a new trailer and launch date would materialize at the Game Awards this year, but alas, it did not. You have to imagine the pressure is also building for the very small dev team working hard at delivering on the impossibly high expectations they set for themselves with the first game. So hopefully they set everyone free and are able to release the game sometime next year. All right, that is gonna do it for us today. Let us know in the comments what your most anticipated game of 2023 is. We know we certainly left some really good ones out, so share those below. I personally can't wait for Dead Space. Oh, I'm so excited for the Dead Space remake. It's gonna be so good. Thank you so much for watching and giving us all the support you have over this year. It's been very, very kind, and thank you everyone who's wished me very, very good things in the comments. It means a lot to me. So, Happy New Year to you and all of your loved ones. We'll see you next year. Bye, everyone.